Hi everybody, in this video I'm going to show you how to make this car. So the reason for making this car is it's going to teach you how to understand sketches, understand bodies, but also importantly understand components. The other thing is also knowing how extrude works. There's a couple of options inside extrude. How to move and copy components. This is really important. You'll find out why. And then also how to fill it as well too. Okay, so here's my car, but we're going to get started on an untitled project. Really quick, just to show you. So here's what it's going to look like. You should be able to have all four wheels as different components that can be turned on and off, and your car body as well too as another component that can be turned on and off. Okay, so here we go. We're going to start a new project. If this screen doesn't pop up, you can find up here in this toolbar, if you would click on this plus, it'll create a new design for you. Okay, and then as you're working to over here, just to navigate around a bit, this is the data panel. So you click this open and you can see home. I can see how my projects are organized, all projects, personal projects, examples, etc., etc. Lots of different things like that. Okay. And there's more stuff in there. So anyway, also inside here, you can create the new design as well. So before we even get started, let's go ahead and save this project. So we're just going to click save, and I'm going to call it introduction car project. And then what I'll do is I'll find a spot to save it in. So I've got a lot of things here. This folder is, this is a 360 for students. I've got personal projects and some other things. So what I want to do is I can create a new folder, or you could create a new project, but for this one, I'll create a new folder and call it introduction projects. Okay, so I'll create a new folder for that, and I want to click that one. You can do the same thing, and I'll press save. Okay, so now I've got this project saved. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to create a component. And the way to do that is you hold down Control or you right click and scroll over this spot here, and then you create new component. Okay. My component, I want to start off by making the body. So car body. Okay. Standard. Everything else looks good. From parent is there. I'm going to say OK. So a couple of things before we move on. This is the browser menu. So you'll eventually see things start adding up here. You could see, like I showed you in the last project over here, you'll see this will start getting larger and larger. Up here, there is a view cube. So I can click on this and rotate around. I can also click on this to look top side left. I can use orbit as well here. So this orbit can show me around. I can also, these different zoom types of functions. I could also use display functions. So if I click here, I can turn, it's a different kind of, it looks different. I can display the, which is the one that I wanted to show you on here, actually the grid. This is snapping it or showing it. So other types of things are also important here. Okay. So let's get started. The first thing to do is I want to create a sketch up in my toolbar here. So the way I'll do that is I'll click on sketch. And now it's asking me, like, where do you want to draw this sketch? So this is really important to understand. A sketch is like a drawing. You're going to make a drawing, and then from that drawing, you're going to make a two-dimensional object. You really need to understand how that works. So right now it's asking me to select a plane. You can see it's the XY plane, or is it the Z and Y plane, or which plane is it that I want? See how it's these little yellow boxes? I want this one that's kind of between the green as well as the red one. So I'm going to click on that, and then it's going to flip me around so it's looking at it two-dimensional. Now I want to make a sketch. There's lots of different tools up here that you can use to make the sketch, but I'm going to start with a rectangle. So I'll click here on the origin, right in the middle, and then I'm going to make this rectangle. Now, I could just go around and like click something, but I want to put in numbers right away. So I can click 100 millimeters, and then I'm going to press Tab, and then Tab is the one that's right 2 buttons above Shift, right above the caps lock. So I'm going to press Tab. It changes, so you see how it changes the little blue things right here. I'm going to click Tab and then go to 200 here. Okay, so I've got that. Here's my rectangle. It's 100 by 200. I can go back in here and change this and click and say 150. If I wanted to, maybe I want the box a little bit shorter or a little bit longer, 175. You can always go in and change those boxes. Okay, now I will say finish sketch. And another thing, if you haven't done this, it's really important that you stay inside of this component here. You do not want activating means. It means it's activated. So what that means is I'm working in this component, and you'll see it's really important that you stay inside this when you're working. Okay. So the next thing, I want to go back to the home in the view cube, and now I can see, okay, I have this sketch and I have a drawing out. Now I want to make it two-dimensional. So the way to do this is I'm going to extrude. So I'll click here on extrude. I'll click on the face and then see there's this little arrow. I can move this up and see how far I want to extrude it. Okay, but I know I want it to be about 25 millimeters. So I'll go ahead, 25 millimeters. I'm going to create a new body. Everything here looks good. I'll say okay, and there we go. So now I have this new component, this new car body. This is the body. I can rotate around and see that's going to be the body of my car. Okay, so that's the body of the car. Now, I want to start drawing my wheels. Again, I need to create a new component. So I'm going to go back, scroll, or move over here in front of this introduction car project. I'm going to right click again, or hold on Control, and click new component. This time, I'm going to call it wheel. Now, again, this is really important. This component is really important because you'll see why in a little bit. But I'm going to click on this wheel. I'm going to call it a wheel. Now I want to make another sketch. This time I don't want to use these yellow planes because I want to make it right on the side of my body. So it's actually going to click a face. So this two-dimensional object has a face. So, sorry, three-dimensional object has a face. So I'm going to click here, and then I'm going to click on this side. You see how it kind of highlights it a little bit? It kind of makes it a little bit more green instead of this making the yellow, sorry, makes it gray instead of making the yellow ones gray. So I'm going to click on the side. Good. Now I've got time to start my sketch. I want to make a circle, and I'm going to try to find a point somewhere in the middle that makes sense to me, or move it around somewhere good. And then I'm going to draw, this is going to be the outside of my wheel. So here's the diameter. For this one, I'm going to make it about 75. Again, you can make it 60. It's totally up to you how big you want to make this wheel. Okay. Now press enter or click and see it says 75. Again, remember I can double click this. I can go in and change it to 60 if I want, and there's 60. But this is, I'm going to stop here. Sorry, turn it back to 75. Now I will finish sketch. Okay, so it rotates to the background. Again, remember this component is activated, not this one. It's really important. Okay, again, I'm going to extrude because I'm going to make this three-dimensional object. So this is something else that's important. So look, if I just clicked where I thought the wheel was, I'm only going to get part of this wheel, but I need all of it. So I need to make sure that I'm getting in. I'm also clicking into this, selecting this face. I also want this face too. So see, now I've got that whole wheel. Okay, again, as big or as small as you want. I think mine's going to be about 20. Again, click 20, press enter, and there we go. All right. So that's really important. Again, making sure that you're working inside of this component feature. So now I want to make the other 3 wheels. The way to do that is I'm going to copy it. But the way to copy it is it's going to move, and you're just going to add something else to copy it. So here I'm going to click the move, and now make sure that a component is selected. I'm going to select the component. Before you click anything, it's really important you pay attention to where this this kind of axis is. Because if I clicked here, or if it's over here, or if it's up here, or I'm going to try to give you a bad example. Just give me a minute. So if it's like this, I start clicking, and I'm going to start moving, and I don't know where it's going to go. See, I actually even clicked the wrong thing, so it gets really messy. So what's really important is you click and try to pay attention to where you're clicking on when you move. Okay, so I'm going to click on this, And see, I'm trying to keep it, I can even look on the front to make sure that I have this X and Y axis, or this Z and X axis perfect. I could even use this little, it's perfectly vertical axis too. So up and sideways. Here, I want to do create copy. Oh, sorry. One other thing, I made a mistake, sorry. What you want to do is you need to go to the parent mode. So what that means is you need to click up here. I'm going to activate this top part. So now I can see both sides. Now I want to do that same move and copy. Again, trying to make sure I click in the right spot. Create copy. Now making sure the component is selected, not bodies. And I'm just going to use the arrows. Try not to use these squares, it gets messy. I'm going to use the arrows. I'm going to move this over, and again I can look at the front. So I can see about where it is. I can even see this little arrow at the top. So I can also zoom out a bit, and I can see where it goes. That looks about good. So I'll say okay. You know, if you want to, you can always type in the specific dimensions or the specific distance, so you know exactly how far away things are. Okay, say okay, and now I'll do the same thing, except I'm going to select not just one component, but both components. And again, because I don't know where these things are, I might be really conscious and try to use this X and Y axis. So not just one, but I want another one. Or let's just make sure we have it in the right spot. Second component, and I'll move it over. Oh, I forgot to, let's go back. Click on, remember, I'm going to try to get a better view just so I'm doing it the right way. Click on this one and this component, create copy here, and now I'll move it over again and have a look. So it's it's not quite far enough. Move it over. I remember, if you remember right, I did 20 millimeters here, plus the width of that is 100. So I can just go ahead and I can type in, it's actually negative 120. And so it moves all the way over. So now you see it's created all four of these wheels. I have wheel 1, wheel 2, wheel 3, wheel 4. So I can go back to the home and I can have a look. There it is. Okay. I do want to do one last thing. So you see how it's kind of below this surface? I actually want to move this up so it's just sitting on the top. So the way I'll do that is I'll look at it from the side. I can select everything, so click select up here. Do all this. Then what I can do is I'll do the move, except this time I'm not going to create a copy. I'm just going to move it up. And I think it should be about 25. Okay. Good, so I'll move, and not bodies. I want to make sure those components are the ones that moves up. So let's try it again. And I'll do the 25. Again, no copy, but capture position. This is important. Make sure you capture position. Say okay. And now, if we look back, here we go. So it's in the right spot. Before we go on, pay attention to what's active and what you're doing. So here it's in the top view. Now I want to change these wheels and make these kind of rounded edges. So what I'll do is I'll activate this wheel, and I'm going to use this fillet tool. So what this fillet tool does, there's another one, there's a chamfer tool and a fillet tool. And what this does is it just gives edges to, it kind of curves these edges, makes it look a little bit cleaner. So I can use this arrow to move it around, or I can press a number and say I want it to go in by 5. So there we go. Here's the 5. Oh, and did you notice it was changing these wheels? So that's what's really important about using components, is if you're copying that same component, then any changes that happens to one happens to another one. Okay, so it's really important that you use components. All right, now I'm going to keep going. This time I want to add some stuff on top of the car. So again, I'm going to activate this component. And I want to draw something on the top. So paying attention to the faces, I'll click on this top. And then I'm going to make a little kind of fin out the back of this. So I'll go in and make a rectangle, finish sketch. It's going to rotate it around. I'm going to extrude up again. So remember this one's active. I'm extrude up again. I think I'll make it about 50, a little bit aerodynamic. So here's where this extrude, and when there's these different options in extrude, comes in handy, or where it's important. So here, if I did, it's asking me to join. So there are other options: creating a new body, creating a new component, intersecting, cut. But for this, I just want to add on to this body. So I am going to say join. I'll say OK. So it's joined, and now I've created this kind of fin, but it's really square. I want to make it more aerodynamic. So I'm going to click sketch, and now still active in here. I'm going to go onto this side, and what I want to make, you could make any shape you want. You know, you can click here and make like a jaggedy edge shape. You could use the lines, you could use the ellipse, the polygon. It's up to you, whichever shape you want to do. But for mine, I want to make kind of an arc. So I'm going to go in here and make this 3-point arc. I'll click this point, this point. I'm going to make this curve and a finish sketch. I'll rotate it around so I can see it. Oops. So I can see it a little bit better. Now I want to extrude again, but this time what I can do is cut out this shape. So I'll push it, use the arrow, and I'll push back. And you see how it's giving me this red thing, and it's telling me to cut. So it wants me to cut out this shape, and I'll say, OK. So now we have this nice aerodynamic top to the car. OK. So here we go. I see it all together. Select. It looks good to me. OK. Last thing that you can do too is, so that can cut that whole piece off, but I could also create another sketch, and I want to make some lights. So the way I can do that is I go into that face, I can draw a little circle, we'll make it 10. And so I've got, this is eventually going to be my light. Now here's another little trick you can do. I want to make it exactly over here. So this is important in the sketch mode, and the way to do this, I can change my line type. I want to draw a line that's a construction line. So over here on this line type, it's a construction line. So then what I'll do is I'll click the line. This is changing the line type. And I'm going to draw right in this midpoint. If you can see this, let me do that one more time. So go to the line. You can see, I'm going to draw this midpoint. See the little triangle that pops up right there on this line? It kind of snaps onto things. The triangle is the midpoint. So this is right in the middle. I'm going to draw a construction line right up into the middle. Again, there's that little triangle again. So that's right in the midpoint. And this is the construction line. It's important. You can probably deselect this after you're done because it defaults back to that. So make sure you've got that construction line out of the way when you're done. Now, what I can do is mirror it because I want it to be exact on that side. I can move this over a little bit. So now, object, this is what I want to mirror. Mirror line was that line, so that's why I drew that line. And now it's going to throw it. See how it threw that circle exactly on the opposite side of that line, of my mirror line. Now I say OK, and there we go. I've got this new sketch with the circles on that face. And just to keep things clean, I'm going to delete that construction line because I don't need it again. Okay. Now I'll finish my sketch. I can rotate it around, and I want to push in my lights. So I'm going to push them in a little bit, and we'll say 10. I don't want to join, oh, sorry, -10. And I want to make sure I'm cutting it as it goes into there. Okay. So now I've got these little indents for where my lights would go. Okay. So back up to the top so you can see what it looks like. And actually, there you have it. It's done. So if you see I turn off this wheel, these wheels, I can have a look. This is a little view, these little eyeballs. Visibility allows me to see or unsee different objects. So I can see here's the solid, here's the car body, here's the wheel, and here are all these different pieces. Okay. So don't forget, you're creating components, pay attention to what's active, and really pay attention to the sketch as well as you're forming those objects. So if I drop this down here, I can see I've got a sketch. Here's all those different sketches. So I can even go back and label them just so I know what's what. Lights. I remember this sketch is the fin, and I can click in here And this is the top, this is the fin, let's say top, and here's the body sketch. Okay, so all these little things are important to pay attention to. So here's my wheel. Again, I've got that sketch. I can say body, just so I know. Wheel, body. So just cleaning things up, making sure it stays organized. It's really important because it can get really messy. Okay, now that I'm done, press save. All good. There you go. Okay, so that you know the next time, the way that you save this is, or once it's done, once it's out of the way and you open Fusion again, remember you go into that data panel and then probably something like this will pop up. I've got projects, but it's actually inside of this project. Here's that folder that I created for introduction projects. Okay, and there, inside there is where my project should be. Let's see, where did it go? I think it may have ended up in another folder. Ah, yeah, here it is. So it's in this project that I created. Okay, so introduction car project, there it is. Double click it. And there you have your car. Okay, so have fun. Feel free to add more details, add as much or as little details as you'd like. Have fun, and yeah, see you soon.